Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a no foundation base makeup routine. I'm going to be showing you guys how to do a face of makeup without using any foundation. This is for those of you who don't like to wear a lot of makeup. You just like to use a little bit of concealer, but you also want to know how to use bronzer, how to set it to make sure that your makeup lasts a long time, and to pretty much look as pulled together as possible while wearing the least makeup as possible. So if you're interested in that, then go ahead and keep on watching. So the first thing that I'm going to do is prime my skin. This is optional. If you don't want to use primer, that's totally okay. I'm going to, just so that I can combat some of the issues that I have with my skin, because I'm not using foundation to kind of create a totally clean slate base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Becca, this is the First Light Priming Filter, to add a little bit of luminosity to my skin. Because my skin is naturally a little bit dull, I'm going to use this to make my skin have a little bit more radiance, and it's going to add hydration to the skin as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and buff that into my skin using a stippling brush. This is the Morphe M436 brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and put that all over on my eyelids as well, underneath my eyes, just everywhere, to add a luminous look to the skin. Next up, I recommend the Tarte Clean Slate Timeless Smoothing Primer. I wish they would shorten the name of this primer, but this is a great primer if you have large pores around your nose and you want to fill those in. I take a super tiny amount, I warm it up in between my fingers, and then I go ahead and press that into the skin just around my nose area. So it's gonna make my skin look nice and flawless around this area and fill in those pores. Some foundations do this effect for you, so I'm going to fake it with a primer since I'm not using a foundation. Next up, we're going to be using concealer. Now, I recommend something that is medium coverage because you do want to make sure that you're actually covering stuff, not just brightening. Otherwise, it's going to look a little bit off. You're going to have brightness, but you're still going to have the darkness peeking through. So you want something that does have a little bit of coverage. I recommend the Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer. One from the drugstore that's great is the Maybelline Age Rewind, and I recommend the Neutralizer shade. Another great one is the Tarte Shape Tape, but that's way more full coverage. If you want something that's really going to do a great job of hiding really deep and really pigmented under eye circles, the It Cosmetics by Under Eye is a great option as well. I wouldn't recommend something like the Maybelline Fit Me if you have dark under eye circles, because that's mostly going to brighten the area instead of really getting rid of that darkness. So you don't want that shadow underneath what you're doing. It's almost useless if you use a concealer that's not going to hide your blemishes or darkness. So you want to make sure that you have something that's a little bit more coverage. So today I'm using the shade Medium Light Neutral in the Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer, and I'm just going to take a little bit of it and I'm going to put it underneath my eyes. And you do want to make sure that you're not just putting it right underneath your eyes, because that will flash back and look weird in pictures, or just in general it'll look a little bit strange. So you want to make sure that you're kind of taking it along the side of your nose as well. You want to make the upside down triangle. Oh, don't make a mess, please. Don't do that, don't drop your applicator. But I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. And I'm not even dipping it back into the product. I wanna use a very light amount. And then what you can do in any other dark spots, because this is pretty much the same shade as my natural skin, I didn't get a lighter color because I want it to blend in with the rest of my face. I can use this underneath my eyes and around my face on other blemishes as well. And then if you have dark veins on your eyes, you can use a little bit here as well. I like to take a little bit in the inner corner of my eyes, and that is it. That's all I'm going to do. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to blend that out. You can use anything to blend this out. I recommend using a brush. That way you will get the most coverage. If you use a beauty blender, the beauty blender is going to soak up most of the product, and since you are only using one thing on your face, it's not going to look heavy because concealers are not meant to be a heavy formula. They are a little bit more lightweight, but they still do a great job of covering. I recommend using some sort of brush to blend it in. So, or your fingers. You can use your fingers as well, but this one is the LUXIE 512 Small Contouring Brush, and I love this one for buffing in concealer. So I'm just going to go ahead and push this into the skin. Notice I'm not buffing it in, I'm really pushing it because I want to really cover where I place the product. If I start buffing it or doing swirly motions, I'm going to be moving the product, and I really want to concentrate the coverage where I place the product down. And then underneath the eyes, I'm going to go ahead and buff that out as well. You really want to make sure that you get into this inner corner as well, because that's where a lot of darkness and shadow is as well. You want to make sure that you're blending it up in this area right here, and then down the side of your nose as well. Make sure that you're kind of like getting into this area around your nostrils, because that's where there's a lot of shadowing as well. And then that is our base done. Now, this is the part where if you wanted to use a cream bronzer, this is when you would add that in. So I'm going to show you if you wanted to. You don't have to. This is where you would do it. I'm going to show you how. I'm using the Chanel Soleil Tan de Chanel cream bronzer, and this is the F88 flat angled kabuki from Sigma. So you want to load up a little bit of product on the brush, and you guys can see where I have a natural shadow right here on my cheekbones. I'm going to be placing the product right in there and above it. You don't want to take this product down. It's going to make your cheekbones look saggier. If you blend downward, you want to lift the cheekbone, so you're going to blend the product up, and I like to take it to my temples as well. It's going to add a natural shadow to the face. You also want to take some on the perimeter of the forehead as well, because that's where the sun would naturally bronze you. And I like to take a little bit on the sides of my nose as well. And a little bit just kind of like in here, because it kind of slims the nose. And you can also take a little bit underneath the bottom lip if you want. Then what I like to do is take that brush that I blended out my concealer with and just kind of go over where the two products would meet and kind of blend them together. Now, to make sure that all of this concealer stays in place for as long as possible, I recommend setting it with a powder. You can use any powder. The one that I highly recommend is the Laura Mercier Translucent Setting Powder. And what I do is I take a little bit of it. So what I do is I kind of shake it up. I kind of put it on its bottom to get some product in the lid. Then I'll flip it back over and hit some of the extra off the lid. And then whatever is left over in the lid is what you are going to use to set your face. There's a very minimal amount. I don't know if you guys can really see because of the light hitting it, but what I do is I take my brush. This is the F35 from Sigma. I push my brush into the cap of the powder, and I get a lot of powder on my brush, and I tap off the excess, and then I go ahead and I start pushing the powder wherever I placed concealer. I'm going to get a little bit more because there's still some left in the lid. Again, tap off excess. I put some on the center of my forehead. I put some on my chin, and I'm just going to set any other areas that I would typically get a little bit more oily around the day. So in my T-zone, in these smile lines I want to set, and just on my forehead. So that's all we're going to do with the powder. Next up is highlighter. I like to do my powder highlight before I do my powder bronzer. Today I'm going to be using this one by Milani. This is shade number 3 Sun Glow Strobe Light Instant Glow Powder. I'm using it on the Anastasia A23 brush. I'm loading some product on my brush, kicking off the excess, and then at the highest point of my cheekbone, which is right here at the top of my cheekbone, that's where I'm going to be placing the highlighter. And I'm just very lightly doing kind of like downward stroke motions, and I want to take it up to my brow bone as well. So I'm just going to be hitting it right here and strokes over here on the tops of my cheekbones. And the same thing on the other side. And if you want, you can put some on the tip of your nose and on the bridge of your nose. You can do your Cupid's bow, you can do above your brows. I wouldn't recommend putting it on the center of your forehead or on your chin, because those are areas that your skin will naturally get dewy and you don't want to add too much, otherwise you will look oily. Now this is the part where you would put your powder bronzer. Today I'm using Give Me Sun by MAC, and this is a number 8 wand ball powder brush by IT Cosmetics. So I just tap my brush into the powder, kick off the excess, and now I'm going to hold my brush from the end of the handle so I have the least amount of pressure, and I'm going to very lightly swirl the powder over where I put the cream bronzer, and this is just going to set that cream to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. Or if you're just doing the powder, this is just going to add some life and definition back into your face. You don't want it all to be bright and white like from the concealer, you do want to add a little bit of warmth and dimension back into the skin to make sure that you look nice and healthy. I also like to take just a little bit down my neck. Next, if you want to use blush, I get a lot of questions all the time about where you put blush. I personally do not like the look of blush on the apples of the cheeks. I find that it doesn't do the best for my face shape. I like to put my blush right in between where I put my highlighter and my bronzer. So it's going to go right in the center of those two, and I like to put it further back on the cheek, so right back here. So I took a little bit on my brush, tapped off excess, and I'm just doing small circular motions in the middle of those two colors. So this side has blush, this side does not. So I'm going to add a little bit more. This is Milani's Baked Blush. This is Luminoso, shade number 5. I love this blush. I think that it's so natural and so beautiful. A lot of people also just put a little bit of blush on their nose because that's where the sun would normally give you a little bit of color as well. Next up, I know a lot of people don't like to fill in their eyebrows if they don't typically wear a lot of makeup, but I'm going to show you guys a product that I love just to run through my brows to make sure that they have a little bit of color back into them and they look a little bit more put together. This is the L'Oreal Brow Stylist Plumper. This is a tinted brow gel. Okay, so I have it in the shade, all of it is kind of rubbed off now, but I think it's brunette. And I'm just going to take a little bit of it and I'm going to run it through my brows and brush the hairs up and out. Oops. Got a little bit on my eyelid over here, but this just instantly makes the brows look a little bit more groomed and it makes your whole look a little bit more put together. And as a last step, I'm quickly going to throw on some mascara. This is L'Oreal Telescopic in Carbon Black. And last but not least, if you want to lock your look into place, this is the Urban Decay De-Slick Makeup Setting Spray. This is for oil control. You can also use the All Nighter. Any makeup setting spray is amazing from Urban Decay. I absolutely love them. How I recommend using a setting spray is spray while you're bringing the bottle down on your face so that the spray kind of makes a straight line down and you're not just spraying a cloud. So I do one spray on one side, one spray on the other side, and one spray on the center. So 3 sprays total. And then I'm going to go ahead and fan my face dry. So that is it for this tutorial. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. You can obviously add lipstick, add eyeshadow, add eyeliner, whatever works for you. This is just a couple of steps that I recommend for a no makeup look without foundation. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos. Hopefully I will see you in my next one. Thank you so much for watching.